Good morning, you guys. Welcome back to Dr. Kim's Going Live. Dr. Kim, today is a big day. Do you want to tell people what just came out?
Yes, I'm excited. Eli's Best Friend, my first children's book, is out today. So it's available anywhere you get books, although I'm hearing, I know Amazon is out of it right now. Our publishers getting books to them, but go ahead and put your order in wherever it is. And I think there's other places, Book Baby and Barnes& and Noble, different places where it's available right now. But I'm excited about it. It's if you have a child or a grandchild, I think you'll love it. It really helps them understand who God is in their life and that God really can be their best friend. And so, hope you guys will enjoy that.
Yes. And today we are going to be talking about practical ways to improve communication in your marriage. And this is kind of a big topic, but we're just going to dive in deep, just a little bit of everything. So, Dr. Kim, what should I do if I'm currently stuck in a communication rut with my spouse?
Yeah, I think that happens a lot. I mean, gosh, every couple that comes in is not communicating well, and that's why they're fighting or whatever else. So I think it is a common problem. I think first off, I mean, just say, hey, I would start with your spouse, just saying, hey, communication and where I'd like it to be. What do you think about it? Can we begin to work on it? And basically, that would be begin to say, okay, we're gonna have some time each day that we're gonna set aside to communicate. And I know for some couples that's awkward at first because they're not talking much. They're thinking we're going to talk about, but you can just simple things. How did you see God in the world today? What happened that excited you today? What was something happened that you didn't like today? I mean, you can just begin to just talk about things and just begin to talk about your life. Really, it's sharing so that I mean, Nancy doesn't know every detail of my life, but I want her to be involved about what's going on and what I do, and the same with her. And so when we sit down and talk in the evening, it's kind of just a recap of our days. And then if there's something specific that concerns one of us, then we'll talk about that too.
I love that. Boone and I have been working from home for over a year since quarantine started, and so we see each other all throughout the day. But we make a big effort at 5:30 every single day to walk our dog and to just talk about what happened today, how our day was. Even though we are together, we want to like spend that time just alone talking and just having that one-on-one time.
It's so amazing. So many couples feel like they talk so well when they're walking,
I
and
don't know what it is.
there's something about it. And I've heard so many people. My friend Les Parrott, who's an author and done stuff, he said he and his wife Leslie said that's when their best talks are is when they're walking. And so yeah, I think
It's
it's
peaceful.
something about it. So so maybe that's what we need to tell people. If you're having trouble communicating, go for a walk and
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah, just relax, don't think anything of it, just have a conversation.
Yeah,
It helps
exactly.
it helps me. Okay, so what are different forms of communication? I know there is a lot.
Well, there are. I mean, I think most of us think of communication as verbal,
Yes.
just the words we say. But when we really are communicating with someone, it is the verbal. It's also the nonverbal. What is your body language saying? And then your tone of voice. If I'm telling Nancy I love her, but I'm screaming at her and I'm tense, she's never going to hear that I love her. And
Yeah.
so research shows that when we communicate like that, only 7% of our actual words are what someone hears. So if our words, our body language, and our tone of voice don't match up, your spouse isn't going to hear you. And that's when a couple comes in and says, well, you said this, you said that. And they'll say, no, I didn't. And they'll go, it's because it didn't match up. And so, yes, I said, I love you, but, I was angry when I said it. You're not going to hear that as I love you.
Oh, I totally agree with that.
And so out of that, most of the problems come, I think, in communicating. Listening's a huge thing. I think uh, most of us don't listen well, and I think we have to learn to listen well and be intentional about it, which is so good when we do that because then your spouse feels valued. They
Mhm.
feel like you care about what they're saying. I think a lot of times we speak before we think, and
Yes.
so I think there's so much wisdom in the uh, John 1:19, James 1:19, be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. And because, there are times I think all of us, we say something and you think, oh my gosh, I wish I could grab that and stuff it back in my
Yeah.
mouth.
Yeah.
And if we just take the time to just filter a little bit or say, hey, is this something I need to say now? And, the adage of, should it be said? Should it be said by me? And should it be said now? I
Yeah.
mean, there's some things that I want to communicate to Nancy, but if the timing's not right, she's not going to hear it.
Yeah.
And so I need to make sure that's the right time to say that too. So there's so much, it is a complicated subject, but I think it's something that is worth working on because communication connects us. It just
Exactly. Yes.
connects us. Yes.
So there's something that you've always said. It's to spend the first 10 to 15 minutes with your spouse the second you walk in the door. Do you still believe that?
I do. I think especially it usually sets the tone of the evening. Someone told me that years and years ago, and so I started looking at it with Nancy and I, and it did. Even when the kids were around and stuff, it was, if we start off the evening bad, usually we didn't usually recover from it,
Yeah.
honestly. And so I think really being intentional, especially when you've got kids, and say if you have a stay-at-home mom and the husband's working, and it could be vice versa, whatever. But when I come in that door, I need to be prepared for what's going on there. I need to leave the rest of the day behind me. And so I would always been in the habit of leaving my day with God. And so when I would walk in the door, whether it's now or back when the kids were little, that I was, okay, what's going on with them? What's going on with Nancy? Always made important to find Nancy first, whether she was in the kitchen or laundry room or wherever she was. When I got home, then I go find her first, even if the kids were hanging on my legs.
Yeah.
To let her know that I'm home and I love her and how can I help you?
Yeah. I love that. That's good. So, what do I do if my spouse just isn't listening to me? If I'm trying to talk with them, if I'm trying to build our communication, but they're just not listening?
I do think it's important to look at yourself first. In other words, is the timing right? What are the words I'm using? Am I always screaming at my spouse? Am I always saying things where they would see it as I'm just on them about something all the time? How do they see your words? And then the tool that we use a lot is stop, look, listen. And it makes such a difference. It's stopping everything you're doing, both of you, looking each other in the eyes. I mean, if Nancy and I are really going to communicate, we've got to look each other in the eyes. I
Yeah.
mean, because there's too many distractions and
Yeah.
both of us can get distracted really easily. And then you really listen to them in a way where I can say, oh, I think this is what you said, or is this what you said? Or I didn't understand that before. Now I do. So if they're not listening, look at your felt self. Is it the right timing? And then maybe put the structure around it. Early on, Nancy and I would just say, okay, we're going to stop, look, listen. Now I think we do it pretty without even thinking about it because
Yeah.
we've done it for so long. And so if we know it's important, we just stop and we're face to face and we listen to each other. But it's a good tool. It's an easy to remember tool, and it has the principles in it that I think make a difference.
Yeah. So, what do I do if I'm struggling with my spouse's nonverbal communication? So every time I'm talking to them, they have their back turned against me or they walk away. What is a good thing to do or good tips to do to help that?
I think it's probably good to your spouse may or may not be aware of it. Now,
Okay.
if it's something where you've told them a lot, then that's different. But sometimes just say, hey, what you're saying is really not meant. You're telling me that you want to do this and how much you care about this, but you're walking away from me when you're doing it. It makes me think you're just kind of saying it's a checklist. Could you,
Yeah.
and kind of talk to your spouse about it? Because a lot of times I really do think it's just a habit people get into and they don't realize the message that they're sending. They
Yeah.
don't want to send that. And so your spouse needs to know what it takes for that communication to really work for you and to know that nonverbal communication, I think where we're so bad about it now is when we're communicating with our spouse and we're on our phones.
Oh yeah.
And so we're sitting there and we're acting like we're talking, but we're looking down and we're scrolling, and that is just it's like it would make me feel like okay, the phone's more important than I am.
Yeah. And
Period.
I'm definitely guilty of doing that. It's very easy to do. I have to literally put my phone away and look up, or I
Yeah,
can't.
I've got couples that, because I think it's something that we all are aware of, and I think maybe even more aware of. And I've got one couple that they've chosen when they go to dinner, the phone stay in the car, and now they don't have kids at home, and I get that. If you need a babysitter to get a hold of you, but you can also keep it in your pocket or your purse. Just don't have it on the table or in your hand. And then if it rings, and it's okay to check and make sure it's not the babysitter. I've got couples that do that when they come in for counseling with babysitter. But as much as you can, have your time of day when you're on your phone. That's fine. Do it. Catch up on everything. Do what you need to do on it. But then have times when you really are unplugged from it. We didn't use, what's that time in our lives we didn't have phones, believe it or not. I don't know what we did with our hands.
I don't know. I was little. I was a
I
kid.
know. I
I
know.
remember.
I was thinking the other day, and this dates me, but I knew where every drive-up payphone was in Oklahoma City, But- and I always had quarters in my car,
Yeah.
so because I would always need to make calls from the phone.
Yeah.
Uh,
You were probably more present with people you were actually talking to.
so yeah, because it was like I was
Crazy.
very intentional about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what do I do if my spouse keeps bringing up the past even though I thought we resolved the argument?
Yeah, that happens a lot. I
Yeah.
think in dealing with couples, I think that happens for a number of reasons. Some people, I think it's just a habit, and
Yeah.
I think other people that was kind of a defense mechanism that they would kind of, maybe they're talking about something and they feel like they're losing the battle, so they bring up the past. But so what I suggest with couples, when you really are having an argument, you've had something you want to settle, agree together that it's resolved, and agree together that neither one of us are going to bring it up again. And then that way, if one of you violates that, the other can say, hey, we agreed that we weren't going to bring this up again. And so I think that's a way to get past that, because some people remember every little thing. And I think that's just the way they're wired. I don't think they're doing it maliciously. And some people can't remember anything. And so, I had a couple one time, and she was telling him the stuff he did, and he had this funny look on his face. And I said, "Do you not remember what she's talking about?" And he said, "No." And so this was like in 2015. And I said, "So say more about that." Well, it was back in 2001, and it goes, well, he had forgotten it by then. And so don't resolve things if it's something that you've or let go of it.
Yeah.
If something bothers you and it's important enough to talk to your spouse about it, talk to him about it and get it resolved and get it off the table.
Yeah.
And if it's not that important, then let go.
Yeah. I love that. So we are almost out of time. So I'm just going to ask you one more question. And I know you guys that communication is such a big topic. So if you guys have more that you want us to go into specifics, please let us
Yeah.
know. We can do this again next week. So if you could give a couple one piece of advice to help grow their communication, what would it be?
I would say just this, communication is something that we have to consistently work on your whole marriage if it's going to be good. And I think the tip is accept that fact, because I think we get communication, work on it, and we kind of coast, and all of a sudden we realize we're apart again. Just accept the fact that it is something we're going to have to work on every day. But when we do, the benefits are great. You're closer, you're more connected, you're going to feel more uh, loved by each other, all those kind of things. And so just realize, if you want the marriage that you've dreamed of, you're going to have to be very intentional about your communication with each other.
Yeah, I love that. And Awesome Marriage actually has some really great resources that you guys can check out if you need help with your communication. So we're actually having a connection challenge coming out for Giving Tuesday. So that's going to be in November. But we also have a 30-day communication challenge that is out. It's available right now. You can just go to awesomemarriage.com/30 dash communication dash challenge, and you can find that there. And we hope that you guys have a great day. And thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, guys.